We've got Andy Ruiz talking about, he's obviously got his fight against Jarrell Miller coming up on the Terence Crawford undercard against Israel Madrimov. And he's been interviewed about his win against Anthony Joshua. He's still very much living off the high of the AJ1 win. I think that was all the way back in 2018. When exactly was it? It was, I remember watching it and I was in shock when it happened. Not necessarily because I thought Ruiz was a bad fighter. I knew he was very good. But just because it happened, we all thought that, AJ was going to go on and have some massive fights. And to see him actually take that upset loss was a massive thing. Yeah, so sorry, that first Anthony Joshua win was back in 2019. So it's been a really, really long time since that win. Since then, he's had fights against... He had the second AJ fight, which he lost in the rematch, Chris Arreola, which was actually a weirdly competitive fight. I remember watching that and thinking, what the hell's going on with Ruiz Jr.? He's a much, much higher caliber fighter, in my opinion, than Chris Arreola. Old Luis Ortiz, he's been old for a long time, we all know that, but significantly deteriorated Luis Ortiz. And now he's got this fight against Jarrell Miller. So he's barely had any fights in the last sort of 5 years. And he's a fighter that needs to be active because, as we can all see with his body shape, he's not somebody who looks after himself. He's not somebody who stays in the gym. And again, I've said in a video earlier this week, which someone took objection to, that he is a bit of a medical marvel. I'm not quite sure how he's able to do what he does at such an elite level with the physique that he has. I understand, there's definitely a benefit to some of your weight as a heavyweight coming from body fat instead of muscle because you get the added weight of the punch, but you don't get the sort of lactic acid build-up. The oxygen's not burnt by those big muscles that some guys have. But for sure, it's not the optimum. It's not the optimum shape he could be in. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So incredible athlete. So interesting to study. But let's see what he said here.
That's when they gave me the call. Hey, would you be interested in fighting Jarrell Miller? And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it.
So you get off to a fast start in your career. Then 2016.
So Ruiz there just talking a little bit about the fact he's fighting Jarrell Baby Miller, saying there's no bad blood there. He's known him a long time. I saw this week Jarrell Miller coining it Burger King versus Taco Bell or something like that, which is, I don't really know what to make of it. It's like, I think that Big Baby Miller, Big Pharmacy Miller, whatever you want to call him, he's a disgrace. And I've no interest in him being in boxing after being so blatantly caught cheating. It wasn't just one substance, it was multiple substances. I don't really think he should be in the ring. Look, I know there's rumors that all the top guys are doing this stuff. I know that that's out there, and it might be true. But the reality is I don't know, and we don't know. But with Miller, there's absolutely zero doubt that he is a certified drug cheat. And I don't really have any interest in seeing him in the ring. Not only that, but I find him quite boring to watch. I don't think he's a very good fighter. I just think he's absolutely massive and has high volume. And I don't believe that he'll beat anyone at the top level, despite all the peds. So anyway, we move.
I had Abel Sanchez, no disrespect with Abel Sanchez or nothing like that. He's an amazing person, amazing trainer. But the only thing he did was give us, there's a board on the wall and he would write down everything that we should be doing. And we kind of did it on our own. So I literally kind of trained myself for that fight. The good thing is that I had the conditioning because it's high altitude, but I still win. I still feel like I won that fight, and I still feel I could have done a little bit better.
So it's one of the...
That's a pretty damning indictment of Abel Sanchez there, who obviously trained Golovkin for most of his career, saying that he didn't really give him much coaching. He just sort of went through the motions, did the circuits that were on the board, and didn't have much tactical input or anything like that. If that's, I find it hard to believe that with the career Triple G had, but if that's true, then, that's not great. With coaching being the way it is now in boxing, where everyone's sort of catching up now, well, not everyone, but some coaches are now catching up now, using more game film, using better tactical plans and all this sort of thing. The sport does seem to have come quite a long way in terms of strategy. Yeah, that's a very weird one. I can't believe that that's true. If you to be an elite boxing coach and have that little input. But if Ruiz says it, then I guess it's true. Maybe at the time he wasn't a priority. I don't know. But it was definitely a very close fight against Joseph Parker, and one that Ruiz could definitely make a claim that he won. going to skip past the list because it's just him talking about how he got the Joshua fight, how it got made, how he won. Well documented stuff. We all know about this.
For whole life, not just for me, but for my mom, my dad, my family, especially my kids, because at that time I already had like 4 kids, and felt like, man, I did it. And that whole night, and no, matter of fact, that whole week, it felt like a dream. It felt like a dream.
That statement, him saying there, thinking about my mum, my 4 kids, I did it. Of course he did it. And honestly, it seems to me with him that he did it and his motivation was gone after that, because he's not really kicked on. I mean, everyone was really excited about him. He's a horrible style matchup for a certain type of fight. He's got really, really fast hands, great chin. And he's someone that's, he's not easy to beat, Andy Ruiz Jr. So he's definitely someone that we would have wanted in the mix in that heavyweight top sort of 5-10 fighters, and it's a real shame because there would have been some great matchups with him involved. I mean, how old is Andy Ruiz Jr. now? He is, so he's 35 now. So I don't think he's got the kind of style. I don't think he's got the kind of style that's going to last that much longer, to be honest. It's really disappointing. It feels like a bit of a wasted career, but, at least he's achieved what he set out to achieve. But just from a purely sporting standpoint, as somebody who, would have liked to see as a competitive heavyweight division as possible, it's a real shame he's not been involved in the mix more.
You're in Saudi Arabia, the rematch. You knew it was coming. It was in the contract. What went wrong during that training camp?
I think I stayed too much in the party life. I was still enjoying the win. I totally forgot that I had the rematch. In 6 months, it goes by so fast.
I totally forgot that I had the rematch. I was enjoying the win too much. I mean, we all saw that when he came in like a fat pig for the rematch. I mean, look, he's big at the best of times, but the shape he was in for that rematch was an absolute disgrace. And, AJ was able to box on the back foot in that fight, stay at range. And, it wasn't even, people said it was a masterful back foot display. He did a good job of keeping him at range, but Ruiz was too big to close the distance anyway. And it was more of an athletic performance at range rather than being like a real smart boxing performance. Don't get me wrong, AJ boxed discipline, he boxed well, but it wasn't really slick. It was just kind of like, I've got better legs than you, and I'm going to use my extra reach. And that was it. I think a fight between AJ and Ruiz now, I think that only goes one way. I think Anthony Joshua would win that fight by stoppage comfortably. But I do worry about the shape Ruiz is coming into this fight in, because what's changed between now and then, what I'm hoping we'll hear something in this interview here that's going to explain why he's got renewed motivation. Maybe he spent all his money, I don't know, but let's continue.
It felt really bad. I couldn't even go out. I couldn't even go out to family parties because I felt like I let my family down. I let my fans down, my kids down, just because of a dumb short period of time.
You can tell this guy's life revolves around parties and eating out and having a good time. And look, respect to the guy. I actually think he's a sweet guy. He doesn't seem like this killer. That's what's so interesting about him. He gets in the ring and he's a different guy, but he's obviously a really friendly, really happy-go-lucky guy. He values, parties and enjoying himself and family time, and all that's great. But I would say it's probably been the reason his career's been a little bit derailed. But I'm looking at him right now. I am a bit worried about what's left for him. I don't know. I don't know what kind of Andy Ruiz we're going to see in the ring. He's been so inactive, hasn't he? Anyway, let's continue.
It's never too late. Just like how Anthony Joshua lost all those other times, he came back up. He kept fighting. He kept pushing. He kept believing in himself. That's exactly what I'm doing now.
Okay, he says that's what he's doing now, doing what AJ's done, believing in himself, pushing. But I don't see it. I don't see it. AJ's stayed really active in recent times. He's been with multiple different coaches, trying to adjust his style, trying to find a winning formula. He's taken huge criticism. He's put himself in the ring. He's put himself on the firing line. He's been competing at the top level. I've never once seen him out of shape. So I don't know if this guy really has a genuine understanding of what it takes. I don't know. And I don't know if this is all just rhetoric to help build this fight up and make as much money as he can. It's a difficult one to understand, but there is the renewed incentive of the Saudi money. Maybe that's why he's like, right, let me get my arse in gear. We'll see what he weighs in at for this fight in it's about a week now, about a week away. Not convinced.
You did disappear for a while after that loss to AJ. It was over a year before we saw you back in the boxing gym. What was going on in your life at that time?
I think at that time I was focusing too much on the comments, on the criticism. People were telling me, "Oh, he was so fat. He was this, that," and I was listening to them. I was literally listening to the comments and to the other negativity that people would give me on my social media. So,
I mean, he was pretty big. And look, guys, like, this is not your regular criticizing someone for being overweight. Let's be clear here. You know, let's be clear here. Anybody is allowed to be whatever they want to be. And you can be fat if you want to be fat. But we are criticizing him from a sporting performance objectivity standpoint. And clearly he is not in the best shape to perform. And it's as simple as that, guys. You know, anybody who takes objection to Andy Ruiz being, you know, critiqued for his physique is mental. You know, we critique fighters when they don't make weight at lower, even when they're in great shape in lower weight divisions. You know, Ryan Garcia got absolutely slammed for coming in overweight against Devin Haney. So there's no difference between that and criticizing somebody for being literally like 50, 60, 70 pounds over what they should be. That's the reality of Andy Ruiz Jr.
boom, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it serious. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to try to transform my body, this and that. And that's when I fought at Chris Arreola. I dropped too much weight.
Let's check what weight he was for Chris Arreola. He was 256. So he actually did drop quite a bit of weight for that fight. But, you know, I would suggest that he didn't do it in the best way because, you know, he's right. Like, you don't want to just like lose your energy. If you have a fat camp and you lose a load of weight, you know, you will likely underperform. You know, you'll be low energy. It'll be problematic for you. One of the reasons that Tyson Fury took so long coming back and having those warm-up fights, other than, you know, wanting to find the easiest route to victory in terms of his career, he lost ridiculous amounts of weight, which drains you. So yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. I think he could be about you know, a 250 pounder if it was composed in the right way, and you know, he still didn't look good, and he clearly didn't feel good, so that wasn't right. But I think he's taken that as, I felt better when I was fat, so I felt better when I was like 35 pounds of fat heavier. I don't think that's the right answer either. So anyway,
The aerial fight happens, and you're not happy, as you said, with how it went. And then there's another break in between that fight and Luis Ortiz. What was going on at that time?
Now, at that time, I didn't want to really talk about this, but I'm just going to be open up with you guys. It was a breakup, basically. I was having a lot of trouble at home, and I just wasn't focused. Even when I fought Luis Ortiz, I was arguing before I even get into the arena. I don't think nobody deserves to go inside that ring arguing with their mind.
Listen, guys, you know, that's tough, and like breakups can affect people in a serious way. And I'm not surprised to hear it affected him that badly. I'm surprised we don't see it more in sport, and maybe we do, and we just don't know. But I have a lot of sympathy for him that he went through that, and that he found it that difficult mentally, and you know, that mentally taxing on him. So yeah, that's another reason. But you know, again, to be that elite level athlete, you can't really let these things impact you the way it did. But again, endless sympathy for him. It's just, you know, are you going to be that top level athlete? Probably not.